The blue-white marble hung in the blackness, serene and perfect. To Su-Ah, watching from the viewport of the maintenance barge, Earth looked peaceful. It did not look like a tomb. Telemetry is nominal. Stasis field integrity at 99.98%. The voice of Juan, her supervisor, was calm and flat over the com. Routine check. We map the generator outputs. We take our scans. We leave. Understood? Understood, Su-Ah replied, her eyes still fixed on the planet. The shimmering, almost invisible bubble of energy that encased it, the stasis field, made the stars behind it wobble slightly. A cage for a world. A blanket over a beast. The harmony of spheres had used those words in the official histories. A dangerous, volatile species. Put to sleep for the good of all. It had happened 5,000 years ago. A distant, almost mythical event from a war no living being could remember. Their barge, the Curiosity's reward, drifted closer to one of the massive field generators. A silent, gray satellite the size of a mountain. It was one of hundreds in a net around the planet. Prepare for t'other, Juan said. Su-Ah moved to her console, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. She was a xenoarchaeologist, not an engineer. Her place here was a courtesy, a chance to observe the greatest archaeological site in the galaxy. A dead civilization, frozen in time. As the barge connected to the generator with a soft metallic clunk, the main screen lit up with streams of data. Biological readings from the planet below. Life signs. Billions of them. All in a state of perfect, unbroken slumber. The Harmony's text called it the Great Dream. Su-Ah had always wondered what they dreamed about for 5,000 years. Run the standard diagnostics. Su-Ah, Juan instructed. I'll handle the structural scan. She nodded, pulling up the bio-read protocols. Waveforms of brain activity, heart rates, metabolic functions. It was a river of green and blue lines, a symphony of sleep. Her job was to look for anomalies, for the slightest sign of decay or awakening. In 5 centuries of monitoring, none had ever been found. But today, something caught her eye. Not a spike or a drop. A pattern. In Sector 7B, over the region once called Eastern Asia, the brainwave patterns were not the flat, deep lines of dreamless sleep. They showed gentle, rhythmic peaks and troughs. Like the tide, like conscious thought, she leaned closer, enlarging the data stream. It was subtle, buried under layers of system noise. She ran a filter, isolating the signal. The pattern became clearer. It repeated every 73 minutes, a precise rhythmic pulse across millions of connected sleep capsules. It wasn't a malfunction. It was coordinated. Juan, she said, her voice quieter than she intended. Take a look at this. He floated over, a patient but weary look on his face. Juan was a good man, a veteran of the Guardian Corps, but he saw his job as custodial. Watch the grave. Keep the grass trimmed. Do not open the coffin. He studied the screen. Residual neural feedback. Echoes in the system. It's nothing. It's too regular, Su-Ah insisted. Look at the waveform. It's carrying a signal. One side. Su-Ah, your curiosity is your strength. But here it is a liability. The Harmony has studied this field for millennia. If there was a signal, we would know. Maybe we weren't listening for the right thing, she whispered. More to herself than to him. Against her better judgment. And against a dozen regulations, she initiated a deep layer scan of the pattern. She used her archaeological decryption tools, not the standard diagnostics. The system hummed, processing. A progress bar crawled across her screen. Juan returned to his work, dismissing her. The barge was silent except for the low hum of machinery and the soft beeps of consoles. Then, a chime. The decryption was complete. On her screen, text resolved. Ancient pre-stasis English, a language she had studied in archives. A single looping phrase encoded into the very brainwaves of millions of sleeping humans. Asterisk, is anyone there? Asterisk, her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a threat. It was a question. Quiet, patient. Repeated every 73 minutes for how long? Centuries? Millennia? A cold dread washed over her, followed by a surge of awe. They weren't just sleeping. They were aware. Trapped in their own minds, in a shared dream, and they were asking if anyone was listening. What have you found? Sue-ah jumped. Juan was looking over her shoulder again, his eyes now sharp on the screen. He read the phrase. His face went pale. Erase it, he said, his voice hard. Juan, this is erase the local cache. Now, Sue-ah. That is an order. His hand moved to his own console, likely to report the breach. Without thinking, acting on pure instinct, Sue-ah slapped her palm on a data transfer node. She dumped the encrypted waveform and the decrypted phrase into a private shielded storage crystal in her wrist comb. It was a tiny thing, meant for personal notes. Then she purged her console's active memory. It's gone, she said, her heart hammering against her ribs. It was just system noise. You were right. Juan stared at her, then at the now blank screen. He didn't believe her. But he saw the data was erased. A conflict warred behind his eyes. Duty versus the terrifying implications of what they might have just glimpsed. Finish the diagnostics, he said finally, his voice tired. We are leaving in 20 minutes. And Sue-ah, speak of this to no one. Not to your friends at the academy. Not to anyone. Some doors, he said, turning back to his station, are sealed for a reason. The barge detached from the generator. As they pulled away, Sue-ah looked back at Earth, the beautiful, silent tomb. The phrase echoed in her mind, not in her own voice, but in the ghostly collective whisper of billions. Asterisk, is anyone there? Asterisk, she closed her hand around the wrist comb, feeling the faint heat of the crystal within. She had heard them, and in hearing them, she had done something irrevocable. She had answered. Now, the quiet of the tomb felt like the silence before a storm. Document 2. The Whisper in the Dark. The Harmony Orbital Station. Orbital Haven was a place of soft light and softer music. It was designed to calm, to soothe, to prevent the kind of sharp thoughts that led to disruptive questions. For Sue-ah, every note of the ambient melody felt like an accusation. Back in her tiny quarters, she stared at the data crystal. It sat on her desk, an unassuming sliver of glass and light, holding a whisper from a dead world. Asterisk, is anyone there? She had run the decryption 3 more times. The result was always the same. The signal was real. It was a structured, intelligent query, broadcast on a carrier wave of human brain activity. Her superior's warning echoed. Speak of this to no one. But this was the most important xenoarchaeological find in history. It changed everything. Humanity wasn't comatose. They were conscious prisoners. To hide this was to be complicit in a lie that had lasted for millennia. She needed help from someone who understood systems, not just ancient poetry. Someone who wouldn't immediately report her to the Guardians. Her mind landed, reluctantly, on Jun. Jun was a systems engineer, one of the few humans who lived and worked under Harmony governance. His ancestors had been on a deep space mission when the stasis field was activated, missing the Great Sleep. They were a small, quiet community, viewed with polite suspicion. Jun leaned into this, cultivating an attitude of bored cynicism. He called Earth the old fossil and seemed determined to prove he was nothing like the sleeping beasts below. Finding him was easy. He was usually in the station's main engineering bay, avoiding social gatherings. She found him half inside an open panel, his hands moving through glowing holographic conduits. "June," she said. He slid out, a frown already on his face. "Su'a, shouldn't you be dusting relics? I need your opinion on a systems anomaly. I do maintenance on water recyclers. Take it to the astrometrics team. It's about the stasis field." Jun froze. His casual disdain evaporated, replaced by a sharp, wary focus. He looked around the empty bay and gestured her toward a secluded diagnostics alcove. "Talk, quickly." She didn't dare use the crystal on a public terminal. Instead, she showed him her personal datapad with the raw, filtered brainwave pattern from Sector 7B. This regularity. Could it be a natural phenomenon? Jun took the pad. His eyes, which usually looked bored, scanned the data with hungry intensity. He zoomed in, ran a quick frequency analysis. "No," he said flatly. "This is a synthesized pulse. It's a carrier wave. There's data encoded in the amplitude shifts." He looked at her, his suspicion deepening. "Where did you get this?" She told him about the routine check, the anomaly, her decryption tools. Finally, she whispered the phrase. "It translates to, 'Is anyone there?'" Jun leaned back as if physically pushed. All the color drained from his face. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at the swirling lights of the station's core through the alcove window. "They're awake," he finally breathed, not with wonder, but with horror. "They've been awake for 5,000 years. In the dark." "We have to tell someone," Su'a said. "The High Council needs to know. This changes the ethical foundation of the entire guardianship." Chun's laugh was a harsh, short sound. "You think they don't know?" The question hung in the air, cold and heavy. "What do you mean?" She asked. "Think, Su'a," he hissed, leaning closer. "The harmony didn't just put a species to sleep. They built the most complex energy field in history. They maintain it. They monitor it. You really think in 5,000 years, no one else ever saw a pattern? They know. They have to know. And they've been hiding it." He took her datapad and connected it to an isolated diagnostic machine in the alcove. He loaded the waveform and began digging deeper, his fingers a blur. The official story is that the field is a humane prison. A timeout. But what if it's not? What if it's a dam? A dam? "Against this," he said, pointing his new data resolved on the screen. He had bypassed surface layers, probing the foundational code of the stasis protocol itself. Buried beneath the sleep-inducing frequencies was another, far more powerful set of instructions. It wasn't just suppressing consciousness. It was suppressing something else. A massive, cascading energy signature psychic neural. They had no word for it. It was linked to every human on the planet. The field wasn't just keeping them asleep. It was containing a runaway reaction that had begun during the war. The Great Galactic War. Jun whispered, reading the fragmented code. It wasn't that they fought with big weapons. It's that the war changed them, awakened something in them. The stasis wasn't a punishment. It was a quarantine. They were afraid of what humanity was becoming. Before Su'a could process this, the alcove door slid open with a sharp hiss. Ji-yoon, a security officer with a stern, unreadable face, stood there. Her eyes went from Su'a's panicked expression to Chun's hands on the illicit data stream. "Scholar Su'a," Ji-yoon said, her voice perfectly calm. "You are wanted for a debriefing regarding your recent maintenance trip. There are irregularities in your post-mission report." Her gaze fell on the datapad. "You will bring all data storage devices." Su'a's heart sank. Juan. He must have reported his suspicions after all. Jun, moving with a speed that surprised her, yanked the connection cable. The screen went dark. He subtly slid the data crystal from her desk into a slot on his own engineering belt. She was just asking about secondary power couplings for her research. Jun said, his voice dripping with bored annoyance. Is that a crime now? Ji-yoon ignored him. Come with me, scholar. As Sua was led away, she looked back at Jun. He gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. He had the crystal. He had the proof. The walk to the security sector was long and quiet. The gentle station music now sounded like a funeral dirge. They passed a viewing port. Earth hung in the distance, its stasis field shimmering. The beautiful, silent tomb. But now she knew the truth. The tomb was not silent. It was full of whispers. And she had just handed the key to a cynical engineer who hated everything it stood for. She didn't know if that was her salvation or her doom. The whisper in the dark had been heard, and now the gears of something vast and ancient had begun to turn. The security cell was not cruel. It was cool, clean, and softly lit. It was the kind of room designed to make you feel unreasonable for being afraid. Sua sat on the plain bench, her mind racing. They had taken her wristcom, but they had not found the hidden data partition. They had asked polite, probing questions about procedural anomalies and her state of mind. Near the stasis field, they did not mention the signal. They did not mention Jun. That, she knew, was a very bad sign. It meant this went far higher than a simple reprimand. Hours passed. Then, a soft chime from the cell's communication panel startled her. A text message scrolled across its surface, unsigned in engineering code. Asterisk, the lock is a timer. It's breaking. The field was never meant to last this long. They are making it worse. Need you at the primary control point. The moon. J*, her breath caught. The moon. The primary field generator complex was there. A city-sized machine buried in the lunar crust. It was the brain of the entire system. Access was restricted to senior guardians. Only another message followed. This one, a video file. It was a live, shaky feed from Chun's wristcom. He was in a dark maintenance conduit, his face lit by a small screen. He was whispering. I cracked the core protocol. His voice hissed through the panel's tinny speaker. The stasis was a two-part system. One part put them to sleep. The other part cooled the reaction, the thing they were afraid of. But it was only supposed to last 1,000 years. A forced evolutionary pause. The ones who built it, our ancestors, they set a timer. A wake-up call. The Harmony found it. They didn't understand it. They tried to override it, to make the sleep permanent. They corrupted the shutdown sequence. On the feed, complex schematics flashed. Sua saw it. The Harmony's attempts to reinforce the field were like piling sandbags against a cracking dam. The pressure was building in the wrong places. The field is going to collapse, Jun said, his eyes wide with a fear that had burned through his cynicism. Soon, and if it fails unevenly, the released energy. It could scorch the planet, wipe them all out. The only way to prevent it is a controlled sequential shutdown from the primary generator. From the moon, the feed cut off. The cell was silent again, but now the silence screamed. Sua understood. The Harmony wasn't just guarding a secret. Their fear was causing the very disaster they wanted to prevent. They were trying to fix a master clock with a hammer. The cell door hissed open. It was not Ji-yoon. It was Min, a young Tevani technician with feathers that were often ruffled with anxiety. Sua had shared meals with him in the mess hall. He was kind, and he always looked nervous. Right now, he looked terrified. Scholar Sua, he whispered, his avian eyes darting down the hallway. Come, quickly. Min? What are you doing? Juan sent me, he said, ushering her out. He is causing a distraction in the command hub. He said you were right to listen, and we were wrong to stay quiet. He said to get you to the main hangar. Juan, her pragmatic superior, had chosen a side. They moved through the service corridors, away from the gentle light of the main concourses. The station's calm music was interrupted by the muffled blare of an alarm. Juan's distraction. Min led her to a small, classified access launch bay. Inside was a sleek, two-person scout ship. Engines already humming on standby. Jun was there, pre-flighting the controls. He looked up as she entered. Took you long enough. Get in. This is theft. This is treason, Suha said, her feet rooted to the spot. It's a rescue mission, Jun snapped. For billions of people who are about to be fried by their own prison. Get in or stay here and explain brainwave signals to the council. She got in. Min handed her a data chip. Access codes for the lunar facility's outer doors. I cannot go further. Good luck. He backed away, his expression one of sheer terror. The scout ship detached from the station with a jolt. On the view screen, Orbital Haven shrank away. Almost immediately, a voice crackled over the comms. It was Ji-Yoon, no longer calm. Scout Vessel Gamma 7, you are in unauthorized departure. Power down and return to dock. This is your only warning. Jun ignored her, punching the thrusters. The ship shot toward the gray expanse of the moon. On the rear sensor display, 2 Harmony Patrol fighters dropped from the station and surged after them. They're going to shoot us down, Suha said, her hands gripping the console. Not if we get to the moon's sensor shadow, Jun muttered, his hands flying. The small ship weaved, but the fighters were faster, closing the distance. A warning blared, a targeting lock. Suddenly, another ship shot out from behind a small orbital array. It was a heavy maintenance barge. The Curiosity's reward. It slid directly into the path of the pursuing fighters, forcing them to break off their attack. Juan's voice came over an open channel, filled with static. I can't hold them long. The main generator complex is in the Tycho Basin. You'll see the entrance. Go! The fighters peeled away to deal with the barge. Jun pushed the scout ship to its limits. The moon's surface rushed up, a desert of gray and black. And there, in the center of a vast crater, was a massive circular door of metallic alloy. Half buried in regolith. Slotted Min's data chip. The great door began to iris open, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the moon's heart. They shot inside just as the door began to close behind them, sealing out the light. The tunnel led to a cavern so enormous it took Sua's breath away. It was the inside of the machine. Walls of crystalline circuitry pulsed with slow, ancient light. In the center was a single control platform, surrounded by holographic displays showing the entire Earth, wrapped in a network of shimmering energy. On the main display, alarming red fractures were spreading through the field like cracks in ice. No time, Jun said, landing the ship and sprinting to the platform. He plugged his datapad in. The ancient systems recognized the command protocols he had stolen. A countdown appeared on the main screen. **** stasis cascade failure imminent. 47 minutes, ******* manual. Sequential shutdown available. ****. This is it, Jun said, his finger hovering over the initiate command. We do this, and the field comes down in 20 minutes. Gently, all at once. They wake up, and if we don't? Suha asked, staring at the cracks spreading across the holographic Earth. The dam breaks. The energy release triggers their own defensive systems. The planet goes into lockdown. And then, he looked at her. Then, after 5,000 years of asking if anyone is there, their first experience of freedom is a planetary inferno. They'll think it's an attack. Suha looked at the screen. at the beautiful, fragile world, at the silent question that had echoed for millennia. She placed her hand over Chun's on the console. "Do it," she said. Chun took a deep breath and pressed the command. A deep subsonic hum vibrated through the lunar rock. On the main display, the cracks in the field stopped spreading. Then, one by one, starting at the poles, the shimmering energy net began to dissolve. Not with a crash, but with a sigh. The lights on the global map representing the sleep capsules began to change from dormant blue to active green. Millions, then billions. The control console showed the field integrity dropping. 80%, 50%, 20%. Outside, on the surface of the moon, they would see it. The shimmer over the blue planet would fade, like a veil being lifted. For the first time in 5,000 years, the stars would shine on Earth unimpeded. The countdown reached 0. The main display showed Earth, just Earth, no field, no cracks. Silent. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, on the night side of the planet, a pinprick of light appeared. Then another, and another. Cities, power, life, awakening all at once. The beast had not roared. It had opened its eyes. In the silence of the lunar control room, Jun and Su-Ah watched, holding their breath, waiting to see what the beast would do. The silence in the lunar control room was absolute. On the massive holographic display, Earth hung in the void, naked. The last shimmer of the stasis field was gone, like a mist burned away by a sudden sun. For a few heartbeats, nothing changed. The planet was a dark blue marble against the black. Then, as Jun and Su-Ah watched, frozen, the night side began to sparkle. It was not a slow awakening. It was an explosion of light. One moment, the continents were dark outlines. The next, intricate webs of brilliant gold and white erupted across them, connecting, flowing, illuminating coasts and river valleys and mountain ranges. Cities, not just lit up, but pulsing with a coordinated, intelligent rhythm. It was as if a single planet-sized switch had been flipped. Their power grid. Su-Ah whispered, "It's not just on, it's fully operational, instantaneously." A low, resonant hum vibrated through the lunar rock beneath their feet. The ancient machinery in the cavern around them pulsed with a new, faster light. Lines of data streamed across the hologram. Languages scrolled strange, mathematical scripts, and then clear galactic standard. Asterisk, asterisk, planetary defense network. Online, asterisk, 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 orbital harmony. Active. Asterisk, 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 primary cognition matrix. Synchronizing. Asterisk, asterisk, what is that? Jun said, pointing to the edge of the display. In the Lagrange point between Earth and its moon, space itself seemed to ripple. Something impossibly large was decloaking, shedding layers of stealth and rock-like camouflage. It was a ship or a structure. It was shaped like a vast, dark spearhead, its surface smooth and without lights. It made the Harmony's largest dreadnought look like a child's toy. They had a guard dog, Jun breathed. And we just woke it up. Back at Orbital Haven, chaos had replaced calm. Alarm sirens wailed. On the command bridge, Captain Nietzsche of the Harmony fleet stood rigid, her 4 hands clasped behind her back. The main screen showed the same terrifying data. "The field is down," her sensor officer reported, voice shaky. "Planetary systems are activating at an unprecedented rate. Energy signatures are off the scale. And there is an unidentified vessel at Lagrange 2. Its size is... It's a fortress." Counselor Mir, his fine Tavani feathers puffed in agitation, stood beside her. "This is an act of war. The human contagion is released. Captain, you must act. Target their population centers before they can organize." A show of force. Captain Micha turned her expression grim. A show of force? Look at the scans, Counselor. Their show of force is already in orbit. We are looking at a technology level we do not understand. I recommend a full retreat to a safe distance while we attempt communication. Retreat? Mir shrieked. And let them consolidate? No. Your orders are to protect Harmony Space. That thing is a threat. Destroy it. Before Misha could countermand the political order, a new voice filled the bridge. It came from every speaker, clear, calm, and deeply resonant. It was a human voice, speaking perfect, unaccented galactic standard. Harmony of Spears Vessel Orbital Haven. This is General Park of the Earth Consensus. The guardianship is terminated. You are requested to power down your weapon systems and withdraw to a distance of 100,000 kilometers. This is not a hostile action. It is a boundary declaration. On the screen, a face appeared. It was a man who looked to be in his prime, with sharp eyes and a calm, unreadable expression. General Park. He looked utterly awake. He looked like he had been expecting this call for a very long time. Counselor Mir grabbed the comm. You have violated a galactic treaty. You will stand down immediately and submit to recontainment. There was a slight pause. General Park's expression did not change. There is no treaty. There was a ceasefire, and then there was a prison. The ceasefire is now over. Withdraw your ships. Mir, in a fury, turned to a weapons officer. The human vessel. Target its main power signature and fire. Counselor, no. Captain Micha shouted. It was too late. A brilliant lance of energy shot from the Harmony Dreadnought Star's judgment, striking the center of the massive human ship. The light faded. The dark spearhead was untouched. Not a scratch. No shield flare. Nothing. Then, on the human ship, a single point of light glowed. It was small, blue-white. A beam, thin and precise, lanced out. It did not strike the star's judgment. It swept along its length, a painter's brush of light. Where it touched, the Harmony ship's systems died. Engines went dark. Weapons powered down. Lights flickered and went out. The beam swept from stern to bow in 2 seconds, and then winked out. The star's judgment was dead in space. A floating, powerless hull. Not destroyed. Disabled. Completely and utterly. The silence on the bridge was deafening. It was a demonstration of such overwhelming, casual superiority that it stole the breath from every species present. General Park's face reappeared. His voice was still calm, but it now carried a weight that pressed down on them all. That was a warning. The next will not be. You have fought no war in 5,000 years. You have forgotten its cost. We have not. We have spent every moment of your millennia remembering. We suggest you withdraw. Captain Micha found her voice. All Harmony vessels. Full retreat. Now, power down all offensive systems. She looked at Counselor Mir, who had sunk into a chair, his feathers flat with shock. We are not dealing with animals, she said quietly. We are dealing with surgeons. And they just performed a non-lethal dissection of our flagship to make a point. In the lunar control room, June and Sua had watched the entire exchange on the monitoring feeds. The awesome, terrifying power on display was beyond comprehension. But it was the precision that chilled Jun to his core. They could have vaporized it, he said, his voice hollow. They chose to turn it off. Like unplugging a lamp. Sue stared at the image of General Park. He was not a raging beast. He was a poised, terrifyingly patient guardian. The beast was not their violence. It was their unbearable, focused competence. It was the fact that after 5,000 years of darkness, their first action was not a scream of rage, but a perfectly measured, surgical stroke. On the screen, Earth's lights continued to burn, a brilliant testament to a civilization that had not died, but had been thinking, planning, and waiting in the endless dark. The beast was awake, and its first act was to show the galaxy that it could choose not to bite. The fear that realization caused was deeper, more profound than any blind attack could ever be. The Harmony fleet drifted at the new boundary line, 100,000 kilometers from Earth. The ships hung in the void like stunned fish, their weapons dark, their engines cold. The silent, massive human vessel remained at Lagrange, a patient sentinel. The tension was a physical thing, a wire pulled taut across the solar system. On the moon, June and Sua waited. They had no orders, no way to leave. They were simply there, witnesses in the control room of a god they had awakened. A soft chime echoed in the cavernous space. A new, clean communication line opened on the main console. The face that appeared was General Park. He looked at them, and for the first time, his expression softened from impassive stone to something resembling acknowledgement. "June? Sua," he said. "You have our thanks." Sua found her voice, small in the vast room. "You knew. You knew we were here. You knew everything. Is anyone there?" Signal was not a cry of despair, Park said. It was a diagnostic pulse. A test. For 5,000 years, it went unanswered. The Harmony monitored, but they never listened. They never attempted a true dialogue. You did. Your curiosity was the key that fit the lock we left for a kinder generation. Jun stepped forward, his earlier fear hardening into a sharp point of anger. A test? You let us think we were discovering a secret. You let us risk everything. You were, Park said, his gaze steady. The secret was not our consciousness. The secret was the galaxy's capacity for courage. The Harmony chose fear. Huan chose duty. Min chose compassion. You, he said, looking at Jun, chose action over safety. And Sua chose to listen. These are the traits we hoped for. They are the only basis for a new beginning. On the main display, a visual feed showed the Harmony command chamber. Counselor Mir looked broken. Captain Micha stood stiffly, awaiting judgment. General Park's image split the screen. He was now addressing them all. Harmony of spheres. The war is not resuming. We have no interest in conquest. Our period of reflection has given us perspective. The violence of our past was a fever. The stasis was the cure. We have healed. He paused, letting the words hang. We are now the Earth consensus. We offer terms. 1. The guardianship is dissolved. Earth and its solar system are sovereign territory. 2. All species have the right to self-determination. Forced stasis, or any similar act of enforced silence, is henceforth classified as a galactic crime. 3. We will reopen diplomatic and trade relations, but on a foundation of transparency, not fear. Captain Micha bowed her head, a gesture of profound relief. Counselor Mir finally spoke, his voice stripped of its earlier pride. And if we refuse your terms? General Park's face did not change. Then you may leave, and you may watch from a distance as the galaxy evolves without you. But if you ever raise a weapon to silence another voice as you silenced ours, we will be there. Not as conquerors, as surgeons, to remove the sickness. That is our promise and our warning. It was not a threat of annihilation. It was a promise of an unbearable, precise justice. It was far more frightening. Mir had no answer. General Park's attention returned to the moon. Jun, Sua, a shuttle is coming for you. You will be taken to Earth. You are guests of the consensus. You are also, if you wish, candidates to be our first ambassadors to those who once were our jailers. The choice is yours. The communication ended. Jun let out a long, shaky breath. Ambassadors? He had spent his life running from the legacy of this place. Su-Ah touched his arm. Her eyes were wide, but with wonder now, not fear. They're not monsters, she said. No, Jun admitted, looking at the vibrant, living world on the screen. There's something scarier. They're sure of themselves. The shuttle was a smooth, silent craft that flew itself. It descended through Earth's atmosphere, not with fiery friction, but with a gentle glow. Below, the world was not a scarred battlefield, but a paradise of green and blue. Cities were integrated into the landscape, beautiful and efficient. The air was clean. They landed in a quiet, park-like space. The sky was a perfect blue. People walked nearby. They looked healthy, peaceful. They glanced at the shuttle with calm interest, not shock. Some even nodded in welcome. A woman approached them. She wore simple clothes and had a kind face. Jun, Su-Ah, welcome. Would you like to see? She led them to a simple bench overlooking a valley. A small holographic display rose from the ground before them. It showed the galaxy, and within it, thousands of pinpricks of light. These are the worlds of the harmony, the woman said. And these, she said, as a softer golden light began to glow around many of them, are the species who were also silenced in smaller ways over the centuries, whose histories were edited, whose technologies were kept. The harmony's peace was built on quiet control. Your act did not just wake us. It has sent a tremor through that entire system of control. Su-Ah understood. The beast was not humanity's capacity for war. The true beast, the one the harmony had truly feared, was the example of a prisoner breaking free. It gave hope to every other suppressed voice, and the galaxy. Jun looked from the hologram to the living world around him. The sun felt warm on his skin. This was the soil of his ancestors. The fear he had carried, the shame he had been taught to feel, it began to crack under that simple, warm light. He was not the descendant of monsters. He was the descendant of survivors who had chosen, in the end, to be healers. He looked at Su-Ah. An ambassador, huh? She took his hand, her own decision clear in her eyes. Someone has to explain to them that the beast they feared was just a person, waiting for the quiet to end. Someone has to teach them how to listen. Above them, Earth's new orbital defenses glittered like gentle stars, a promise of security, not aggression. In the silence of the garden, there was no whisper from the dark. There was only the sound of the wind, the call of a bird, and the steady, vibrant hum of a world alive, awake, and finally home. The long night was over. A new dawn had come, not with a roar, but with a quiet, firm voice and an outstretched hand.